Oh, hi. You just caught me weeding my Back to Eden garden. I know I'm always saying just try something, but here's something I don't want you to try. For some history, I started out doing a Back to Eden garden by flooding this whole garden area with composted horse manure. And then I covered the entire thing with about 6 inches of wood chips. The first year, I had an amazing garden. I had okra that looked like trees. I had tomatoes that were just going bananas. That's weird. So why am I saying don't do a Back to Eden garden? I mean, doesn't it lock in moisture and prevent weeds from germinating and all this kind of stuff and helps nutrify the soil and all? Yes, it does. It does all that kind of stuff really well. But if you live in the American South, you've got a problem Paul Gautschi is not having to deal with up in Washington State. So wait, I've got all these wood chips on the soil. So how in the world do I have all these chunks of grass coming up all through here? Well, if you live in the Pacific Northwest, where Paul Gautschi lives, you don't have this problem because you don't generally have creeper grass. But if you're in the American South, if you notice, this is Bermuda. Bermuda doesn't spread through seed normally. Bermuda spreads by sending out runners all through the soil that love this wood chip, and they send runners all through it. So if you don't do something to stop it, that Bermuda grass is gonna take over everything you've worked so hard for. Now, if you've got raised beds or something like that, this is probably not gonna be an issue for you because the Bermuda is generally prevented from getting into the raised bed by the wooden walls. But if you're gardening on a much larger scale, like we are, you're gonna have to do something to stop the Bermuda. So there's a couple of ways that you can deal with this problem. Whether you're just starting out and you're thinking about doing a Back to Eden garden, or you've already done one, it's already established, and you're trying to figure out how to get rid of Bermuda. Stick around for the last tip, because if you don't do the last tip, all of the other ones that you try are not actually gonna work. Tip 1. The first option, if you're just starting out with a Back to Eden garden, I would layer down a lot of cardboard and then put down a lot of horse manure or whatever type of manure you can add, mushroom compost, whatever it is, and then layer your wood chips on that way. That's gonna help prevent any Bermuda grass that's underneath from sprouting up. You need to have a thick enough layer that you're really gonna kill that Bermuda grass from the get-go. Tip 2. Another option is you can just simply layer down more wood chips and then weed as things come up. Over time, you will weaken the Bermuda grass and eventually you'll probably win. Tip 3. One option you could try is what we did in these 2 beds right here, which is a dinosaur kale bed and a collard bed, and actually there's a bed over here where I just ripped out a bunch of spinach, and there's some onions and carrots that are in there. I actually dug these beds out, hand dug every last scrap of Bermuda I could find in these beds out. This right here is a pile of the Bermuda that I pulled out of one bed. Then covered them over with compost, planted my stuff in, and then tried to sprinkle wood chips back in on top of it. It's worked pretty well. I've got a pretty good set of plants here. But it was so much work, I almost lost my soul. Tip 4. Another great option would be if you've got hogs, pigs, pen them up in your garden over the winter and let them root down into that soil and rip out all that Bermuda. They'll do a great job of tearing it all out. If you've got chickens, probably not gonna work so well. We tried chickens in here over the winter, and although they did a good job of manuring the soil, they just don't have powerful enough feet to scratch down into that thick mat of Bermuda and tear it out. They ate the tips off, but that was about it. Tip 5. Another option, and one that I'd really recommend, is to layer down composted manure or whatever kind of compost you can get, then cardboard, then hay or straw. Let me show you what I mean. So here we've got some bean plants that are growing up a cattle panel trellis. And underneath, you can kind of dig under. And there's a lot of worm action in here, but you can see the cardboard is kind of coming apart. And underneath here, whoa, look at that worm. That's beautiful. That's what you want under here for sure. It's the best advertisement I could have for this. Under this cardboard is a layer of horse manure. And this cardboard is just kind of keeping the moisture in, and the hay is helping keep the cardboard there. And that also chokes out Bermuda. This has the wonderful distinction of being a whole lot less work than trying to dig every bed out by hand. Now, what works well with this system is things that you can start in pots ahead of time. What's not going to work so well with this system is things like radishes, beets, turnips, carrots, anything that you would normally direct sow into a fine seed bed. It's kind of hard to do that into cardboard. Am I saying that you'll never have a Back to Eden garden where you can actually just do wood chips? No, you just need to fix the problem this season. You need to get rid of the Bermuda this year. Establish control, and then you can go back to your wood chips. Sick. All right, this is it. Last tip. If you've done any of these other things to help mitigate the Bermuda, because Bermuda is still spreading underground sideways into your garden, you've got to establish some sort of a wall so that it can't enter your garden any further. And here's what I mean by that. You've got to establish some sort of a trench around your garden. It's about the width of a shovel and about 4 inches down or so. Periodically refresh it, maybe once a month, come around and just run the shovel back through it and make sure that it's cleaned out. But because Bermuda is trying to spread from this edge, it's not going to usually go in the soil here like this. It's probably going to send out corms across this area and try to get directly into the soil that way. And what you could do is just run around with a weed whacker in about 2 or 3 minutes and just buzz all those corms off, and you won't have a problem. Now, sometimes it might try to spread under the soil, which is why you just come around occasionally and just take a shovel and sort of run it through just to make sure that it's not spreading. But if you don't establish some sort of a line here, all the strategies that you do in the garden are going to kill the Bermuda grass from the previous year that got in, but you're not going to be preventing any new Bermuda from coming in, and everything's going to be a waste. So that's what I got for you. If you're planning on doing a Back to Eden garden, or if you've already started one in the American South where you have creeper grass and things like that, please do something to mitigate the Bermuda, or you're going to have all kinds of trouble and you're really going to hate your life. Hey, thanks for watching. If you like this video, hit the like button down below, subscribe to the channel. That helps me make more videos just like this one. And remember, whatever you're doing on the homestead, whatever you're doing on your farm, just try something. Just try something.